It has all been leading to this, a final confrontation between good and evil, daughter against daughter, Ranger versus Repulsa. Or is it? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Return, issue number 4, is the final issue of Amy Jo Johnson and Matt Hodson's Power Ranger epic, and they left it all on the page in this one. I applaud the duo for taking some pretty big swings in a comic that could have very easily played it safe. I will say that issue number 4 is generic.
Not.
Honestly, this issue is anything but generic, as this book continues to do what it does best, pull off some huge surprises that feel narratively satisfying. The Return is technically an anniversary story, and it excels even as that because its material has aged with its audience. This is the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger story that lifelong MMPR fans have been dreaming of. Issue number 3 was our big villainous monologue. We got a chance to fully meet Selena Repulsa and learn her goal: to bring back her mother from the morphing grid using the Power Morphers. With the 4 original living Rangers captured and the 5 OG Morphers in her possession, Selena all but won the day. Except, there weren't 5 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, there were 6. Enter Olivia Hart as the new Green Ranger, with the stage set for an epic conclusion. Or at least that is what you would think would happen, and it is what I actually feared. The cliffhanger of issue 3 left me worried that the finale would be a huge punch-em-up, leading to a big wrap-up conclusion. I mean, it's standard for action movie structure, so it made sense. However, in a story like this that opted to focus on heavy themes, meta commentary, and character development, it would have felt a little underwhelming. When I first opened up issue 4, all of my fears were immediately put to bed. Olivia, who jumped on the scene like a true badass, spends this issue struggling, as she should because she morphed for the first time like 10 seconds ago. However, in her struggle, Amy and Matt were able to develop her personality and give us a character we want to root for, and hopefully see more of. This issue is not Olivia solving all the problems because this is not Olivia's story, and I'm very okay with that. Instead, we get an issue that focuses on teamwork, family, and hope. This series felt like a love letter to the original Mighty Morphin cast, with the finale sealing that letter and sending it off for all to enjoy, with the promise of a bright new future ahead, if we allow it. While the other Rangers play a role in this story, it is Kimberly's to tell, and having Amy Jo Johnson be the one to tell it adds layers of depth and realism to the character in a way we haven't seen before. The thing I hate the most is when I hear people say that Kimberly was always a damsel in distress, because I know that is the farthest thing from the truth. If you go back and watch MMPR, Kimberly is one of the toughest and most complex characters of the original 5. Yes, she starts out as a stereotypical valley girl in the pilot.
I don't know, you guys. I mean, the outfits are cool and everything, but my hair gets all tangled up inside the helmets. I don't think I can do it.
But as we watch the series, we see her character shine. She is fiercely determined in her pursuit of gymnastics. She piloted a plane on her own when she was like, what, 16? She's taken down multiple monsters by herself, and in my opinion, she is the true second in command of the Power Ranger team. I say this because this is the Kimberly Hart we see in The Return. Amy is able to find her voice again effortlessly and drive this character forward in a way that feels authentic. Kimberly has always struggled with family. If you remember from the series, she's a child of divorce. The Return compounds that trauma by adding the weight of superheroics, death, and single parenthood on the pink powerhouse. Listen, there's nothing more satisfying than seeing Kim throw down wearing a pair of pink fuzzy slippers. Moms are the ultimate badass, and Kim is no exception. Through the lens of Kim, we're able to see how being a Power Ranger has affected the lives of these people. This is also where the line begins to blur between fact and fiction, and this series has almost felt autobiographical at times for Amy Jo.
Why are you talking so weird? Hey, do you think you're like one of those intellectual people?
I would honestly love to ask if that was intentional or if it just came out of her while writing. Either way, the story has felt like a cathartic experience for the legendary actress. It gives us fans a unique perspective into the minds of one of our childhood heroes and shows that being a part of something this big will affect you, and not always for the better. Issue number 4 of The Return feels like Amy Jo coming to terms with her past as a Ranger, accepting it for what it was and willing to embrace it in the future, but on her own terms. And I honestly love that for her. I think Matt Hodson is the perfect writing partner for the story because, like I mentioned, it is a very personal and emotional story for Amy, but Matt is able to take that and use his comic book expertise to add influences from other major comic series. A huge draw for me is that this story is very reminiscent of Old Man Logan or TMNT The Last Ronin, except while those stories focus on our childhood heroes coming back from unspeakable tragedy and defeat, The Return explores a world where our heroes actually won. What do these child soldiers do after the war is won? What is the cost of victory, and how does that affect them as adults? I mean, that's a perspective on the Power Ranger that anybody could really sink their teeth into. Add into the mix Nico Leone, who is an immensely talented artist and a huge Power Rangers / Super Sentai fan, and you create a team with so much synergy that the story feels bigger than I ever thought it could have. Amy and Matt bring their directorial instincts once again to issue 4 as the story continues to feel cinematic. Nico takes that vision and makes it come to life, incorporating sharp poses and action that is pure tokusatsu goodness. And you need that because this book balances the tone so well. I think tone has always been an issue with Power Ranger stories. People tend to lean too far one way or the other. They either make it insultingly childish or way too serious. Where I personally feel like the best Power Ranger stories are often ones that respect the camp and toku roots while telling a mature story. The Return walks that tightrope perfectly. Now guys, fair warning, I'm about to jump into some major spoilers for issue 4 of The Return, so if you haven't seen the book yet, make sure you stop here, go out, buy the book, then come back and finish watching. But either way, we're starting spoiler discussion right now. Issue number 4 of The Return continues to explore the theme of grief and loss, as the real battle between Selena Repulsa and Olivia Hart is more psychological than it is physical. We see two very young women who have both lost someone process that loss in two completely different ways. Kimberly has raised Olivia to honor her father's memory while not letting that hold her back from living her life, whereas Selena let the loss define her entire life, creating a fiery hatred for the Power Rangers that was stoked by a cowardly Finster. Selena represents the all-consuming trauma of grief. I know from experience what loss can do to someone, and if there is not a way to channel that pain, then it could fester. This is why I think Selena is a really compelling villain. She's evil, but that's all she's really ever known. Is there room for growth, for change? During the course of the issue, she uses Trini's old morpher to become a new Yellow Ranger, which I'm calling the Selena Tooth Tiger Ranger, guys. Let's get that thing coined right now. I think it's a very satisfying development, a moment that perfectly brings the series full circle, as this morpher is what she used to get close to Kimberly all the way back in issue 1. I was shocked to see Selena morph, and I'm so curious to see what happens to her character in the future. Does the purity of Trini's morpher affect her, or is the pull of her lineage just too strong? However, the biggest moment in this issue comes around page 9 or 10, as Selena enters Finster's machine to bring back her mother from the morphing grid. She is knocked away by Olivia, who accidentally activates the machine with her genes. Out steps the legendary Tommy Oliver, having not aged a day. It was a moment that was really emotional, and I'm sure it's one that's going to have the entire fandom talking. The loss of JDF sent a shockwave through the community that was felt by every fan, whether Tommy was your favorite Ranger or not. This moment for me symbolizing a rebirth of the Power Rangers and everything they stood for, because Tommy and JDF were, is, and always will be the heart of this franchise.
Important to me now is my friendship with all of you. I don't ever want that to change.
It won't, Tommy. You'll always be one of us.
To have Tommy return and be the voice of reason, symbolizing the purity of the Rangers and everything they stood for, hit so hard. The choice to have him remain young is an interesting one, and I think more than anything it serves a thematic purpose. Tommy represents the innocence of youth, the idealistic version of ourselves before we're chipped away at by the pressures and stress of life. For him to come in and perform Naruto's strongest technique of all, the Talk No Jutsu, made perfect sense for this story. We have seen what war has done to these characters, but Tommy shows them the whole reason why they began fighting in the first place, and it makes for a truly special moment. The Return lives up to its name because it's not just the return of Amy Jo Johnson or the return of Tommy Oliver, but it is the return of the Power Rangers, a team that I would love to see more of. There is a huge cliffhanger here at the end that is sure to generate a lot of talk, but as far as I know, there is no official sequel series in the works at the moment. This book for me is a easy 5 out of 5. A perfect story that pushes the storytelling potential of these characters to its limits without breaking the world they live in. I hope to one day see this series adapted into an animated film, but until then, make sure you grab your copy today, and hey, go grab a physical issue, support local comic book shops. And until next time, guys, stay versed, and may the power protect you.